wonderful humans, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. My name is Lucy and I'm an English literature... Calm. Hello wonderful humans and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucy and I'm a PhD student at the University of Birmingham in my second year, soon to be going into my third year in January. And today I want to talk to you all about the transition from doing a master's to doing a PhD, because I get asked this question a lot on my Instagram, in my YouTube comments, and even a couple of you have emailed me, which is totally cool. Like, my email is on my YouTube channel, but I'm always surprised when I get emails because I'm like, oh, it's so official. But I think the fact I've been asked it so much means it's clearly a question that plays on people's minds, so I wanted to answer it. But I don't just want to talk about what are the differences, I also want to offer you some advice and tips for making that transition easier. Let's get on with the video. So I think one of the first things to point out, and the difference I would say mainly between an MA and a PhD, is in MA you are focusing on a lot of different topics, more specialised than an undergrad, but you will still be doing modules, you will still be going to classes and lectures and seminars, you will still be producing shorter essays or assignments, and then obviously you will have your dissertation, which will be around 20,000 words. Now with a PhD, you typically write about 80,000 words and you won't have modules in the UK, you will not have classes and seminars and lectures, it will be a lot more independent study through the library, archives, at home on your laptop, etc. And although you will have supervisor meetings once a month, that is the only kind of formal thing you'll have to connect you to the university during your PhD. There will be other things, but that's like the most formal in-person online connection you will have. And that can be very overwhelming for some people because you go from being taught all these different things, being given assignments, being very targeted and like, okay, I need to read this article, this article, and this article, I need to write 1,500 words on this, to let's do a chapter on this topic. Is that what you want to do a chapter on? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Go away and look at it for a month and come back and tell us what you've got. And that's a very different mental process, which can be overwhelming. I think the second big difference is typically PhD students, we're older, we are not necessarily in that student mentality, so we tend to have lives outside of the PhD, which means socialising looks a little different. You can totally be social as a PhD student, partly because we have lives outside of the PhD, which no one seems to think we do, but you won't necessarily have all your social connections through your course, through your university. Instead, you might do the PhD long distance, and therefore you have a whole life wherever you live, and the PhD is almost just your job that you do 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You might really relish the freedom to work whatever hours you want, and you want to work evenings and weekends because that means you can go have fun with friends in the day, or like me, you can take your dog to the park and have a little picnic date with your dog for like 3 hours on a Wednesday. But that is a different change because basically you won't have any structured time. You're not going to be going into the university to do lectures, to do classes. You don't have to work in certain places. You can do a PhD as long as it's a long distance course, and especially during the pandemic, from anywhere. You don't even have to be in the same country as your university to do a PhD there. So that's a big difference, I would say, in terms of the lifestyle surrounding a PhD versus an MA, where typically you do have to live close to the university because you will be going in more often. So now we've identified kind of the main differences, I want to give you some tips and tricks and advice for making that process more seamless and easier. I think the first thing to remember is you are not alone in making this transition. In fact, everybody you're doing a PhD with, or has done a PhD, or is currently doing a PhD, has done this kind of leap as well. And it's so easy to feel overwhelmed because suddenly you're like, oh my God, I've got to write 80,000 words on a single topic. How am I ever going to achieve that? That seems insurmountable. But just remember, everyone has been in your shoes. And Although 80,000 words is a lot, you're not expected to write that all in 1 year. You're not expected to write that all in one go. You're going to be adding to it over time with 7,000 words here, 5,000 here, 2,000, 10,000, adding bits as you go. You're going to be working on different sections. You're not going to suddenly write it all in chronological order like you might have done essays in the past. Instead, this is a process of slowly building up, adding, editing, changing as you go throughout the whole 3 to 4 year process. So although it's easy to feel overwhelmed, just remember this is a marathon, not a sprint, and there is no point trying to do it all at once and just freaking yourself out. And if you do feel overwhelmed, reach out to people, reach out to your supervisors, reach out to other PhD students, or reach out to friends and family and just say, oh my God, this is so crazy at the moment, blah, 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 blah. Go for a coffee, talk about your feelings, all that fun stuff, and hopefully it'll make you feel a bit better. I think the next thing is a lot of PhDs will start with a literature review, whether this is formal or informal. I know in the sciences this tends to be more formal, whereas in the humanities, especially English literature, this is a lot more informal because arguably we do literature reviews throughout the process. But literature reviews can seem a little bit scary because suddenly you have your first supervisor meeting and it's like, whoa, okay, I've now got to research everything on this topic. But just take a step, breathe, go watch my video on how to do a literature review, and just remember, you're not being graded on everything you do during the PhD. And actually, your supervisors aren't going to expect you to come in and be perfect and be working at sort of an end of PhD level. The PhD is a process and it's a learning process, and you're going to get better and better and better without even realizing it throughout the whole thing. So the work you do to start with is important, and it's the basis of what you're going to do in the future, but don't aim for perfection. Don't freak yourself out. If you're struggling with something, talk to your supervisors. Say, I really couldn't find books on this topic. I feel like I'm missing something. Is there kind of a key text I should have looked at? Or do you have any advice for finding text? Because I've done this, and this, and I just can't seem to find many. And chances are they will be able to help. That's why they're there. So send them an email, set up a meeting, and just get in touch with them. Now, another big thing people find with PhDs compared to masters is there is this misconception that they are super lonely and you end up really isolated and we all just become depressed little hermits who never leave our rooms. And that is not true. Like, I have not had that experience at all. Yes, we spend a lot of time researching and writing, but we also have friends and lives, like I said before. And I think one thing that's really important to remember is there are lots of networking events and kind of conferences, PhD chats, work in progress things. There's so much going on within the PGR community, both at your university, in the country as a whole, and even online to get involved with. Reach out to people on Twitter, Instagram, go to events, go to conferences, network, in person or online, whatever you feel most comfortable with. And I think the important thing to remember is you're not alone in this process. You won't be alone in researching your topic. You'll be alone potentially in researching the niche within your topic, but there will be other people researching Shakespeare or Lovecraft or romance books. Reach out to them, connect with them, ask them questions, get to know them. And that will make it so much easier because then you've got this support network of other PhD students around you to lean on when times are hard, or even just to have fun with at conferences. You know, you may as well have fun. You only live once. I'm not suggesting oh God, that sounded dodgy. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying, go to conference, have some fun with your friends, learn some stuff. Don't take life too seriously. Life is meant to be enjoyed, but stay safe. Yeah, we'll move on. I think another thing to remember is that, like a master's, the PhD does have formal processes and procedures in place to help you, support you, and make sure you are on track. Don't be intimidated by these processes. The things like the mid-year review, your supervision meetings, which will often be accompanied by a form just to check on your progress. And although these things can seem scary and intimidating, they're really there to help you and support you and make sure you don't get to the end of the PhD and suddenly be told this isn't good enough. That should never happen if you've got a good supervisor team around you and if they're making sure that you are achieving everything you should be achieving. Also, if you don't get on with your supervisor or team, which can happen unfortunately, there are procedures in place to change supervisors or to kind of have an outside person come in and discuss the issues and hopefully improve them. I know a couple of people who've changed supervisors. It's not as unusual as you think, and usually there isn't any kind of stigma or bad blood attached to it. So don't be afraid to do it if you're really not gelling with someone, or if your project has just changed and they don't feel as relevant anymore, because that can happen, because the PhD is an organic thing, and if it's not changing as you go, that's a little concerning. Most people I know have changed their project, not massively, but a little bit, kind of each step they go. So just remember, those things are there to support you, and take advantage of them, because like I said in the previous point, you don't want to feel alone when you're doing a PhD, and part of that is having institutional support, and it is there, so please use it. Reach out to the mental health people, reach out to any kind of disability support people that you have access to if you need it. I think that is everything that I wanted to talk about. I don't know if this video is going to be very long, but hopefully it is helpful. Ultimately, when you do a PhD, you're doing a topic you love, and I think for me that is the biggest change from a master's to a PhD, because you're able to specialise in something you love, and although you may get bored with it occasionally or frustrated, ultimately if you love your topic and you enjoy what you do, just enjoy the process and appreciate being able to spend these 3 to 4 years really deep diving into a topic that you're passionate about, because that's not an opportunity everyone gets in life. Okay, so Tuesday's going to be the new upload schedule, so I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye!